What are the top 10 Foo Fighters B-Sides? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the Rock Squad channel and welcome to my top 10 list of the best Foo Fighters B-Sides. Before we get to it, guys, if you love to rock out as much as we do here on the Rock Squad channel, make sure to smash the subscribe button, make sure to like this video, appreciate that, and make sure to share this video online with your friends and fellow Foo Fighters fans. So I figured in honor of the release of the new Foo Fighters album, But Here We Are, that came out about a month ago and it's absolutely fantastic, I figured I'd do a ranking of the top 10 Foo Fighters B-Sides, or at least the ones that I like, you know, my favorite Foo Fighters B-Sides. I got my Foo Fighters t-shirt on, so I'm all ready to go and talk about this stuff. But yeah, I did a review of the new Foo Fighters album, But Here We Are, here on the channel about a month ago when it came out. Love the album. You can check out the review for that. You can check out my rock albums ranked for the Foo Fighters, which I did a couple of years back leading up to the release of Medicine at Midnight. I'll link that up for you as well if you want to check it out. But you know, I don't really need another reason to talk about the Foo Fighters. I could talk about the Foo Fighters all day long, just like Oasis. And similar to Oasis, I did a B-side countdown for them a couple of weeks back that was pretty well received. And like Oasis, Foo Fighters have a lot of extra tracks, a lot of B-sides, especially in the 90s into the mid 2000s, I would say. They had a lot of B-sides and extra tracks that they put out on the backside of their singles, and there's a lot of great songs in there, both original songs and cover songs. The Foo Fighters did a lot of cover songs. They still do, you know. I wish they would put out B-sides like they used to, but it's been quite a while for the Foo Fighters since they put out you know, legitimate singles. The whole streaming era and Spotify has changed the game of the whole, you know, term B-sides anyways. A lot of B-sides end up on the deluxe editions of various albums, but the Foo Fighters just kind of slowed down in that regard. But during the 90s and the 2000s, they released a lot of great B-sides on the flip sides of their singles. So you know what, let's talk about them. There's a lot of great songs. Maybe you know these ones, maybe you don't. Hopefully I can turn you on to some music and some B-sides that you haven't heard before. So without further ado, let's get to my top 10 list of Foo Fighters B-sides. Actually, you know what? First, we're going to do 5 honorable mentions. That's right, we're going to do 5 honorable mentions for the Foo Fighters B-sides. So coming in at number 5, we have Danny Says, the Ramones cover that the Foo Fighters put out on the All My Life single back in 2002. And this one doesn't feature Dave Grohl on vocals. No, it features Mr. Chris Shiflett on vocals doing this Ramones classic. And I've always just really loved this version of Danny Says. I love the original Ramones version as well, but I love Chris Shiflett's vocals on the song as well because, you know, he's got a different kind of voice than Dave Grohl. He does a lot of solo stuff now, but when he did some stuff back in the day, the Foo Fighters put out a lot of cover songs on the B-sides from the One by One era, and this is definitely one of them. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. It's a great cover of a Ramones classic, and that's Danny Says. Coming in at number 4 on our honorable mentions list is Requiem, which is a Killing Joke cover. This one was on the Everlong single back during the Color and the Shape days, and this one's just got an incredible riff on it. It's a little bit different than the original version. If you hear the original and this one, they're kind of different. With, you know, being Dave Grohl, he's cranking things up a little bit, making things a little bit more rock, and this is definitely a great song. It's got a great riff to it. You have to check it out, and it's also kind of chill. Dave Grohl doesn't do a lot of screaming on this song, so it's heavy with a chill vocal from Dave Grohl, and definitely worth checking out. So number 4 on the honorable mentions list is Requiem. Coming in at number 3 on our honorable mentions list, this isn't really a B-side. It wasn't on a single, but it was an extra track on Wasting Light, and that's the song called Better Off. Like I said, the Foo Fighters kind of slowed down when it came to the B-sides on the singles. I would say after Echoes, Silence, Patience, and Grace. That was the last album they really had a lot of B-sides on. But from Wasting Light onward, they had bonus tracks on albums, different things here and there. And Better Off is pretty much the only extra track that we got from the Wasting Light era, which for me is still one of the strongest eras of Foo Fighters music out there. And this is a great extra track if you can track it down. I'm not sure if it's on Spotify. You can probably check it out on YouTube here, but it's great and it's worth checking out. From Wasting Light, we have Better Off bonus track. Coming in at number 2 on our honorable mentions list of Foo Fighters B-sides, we have Kiss the Bottle, which is another cover. There's a lot of covers on this list because the Foo Fighters have done a shitload of covers in their career, and this one is a cover of a Jawbreaker song. That I'm not really too familiar with Jawbreaker. I would say I only know this song through the Foo Fighters version, but again, featuring Chris Shiflett on vocals, and this one's got a really fun, it's a great kind of summertime song. It's got a fun riff on it. It's got a great vocal from Chris Shiflett, and it's really poppy, actually. It's very kind of punk rock, pop rock, maybe something that the Foo Fighters don't normally do. And if you heard it, you might not think it was the Foo Fighters at all, but it certainly is. And Chris Shiflett does a great job with the vocals on this song. So it's a Jawbreaker cover, like so many of the great covers that are going to be on this list, and that is Kiss the Bottle in at number 2. Then coming in at number 1 on my honorable mentions list is the song Dear Lover. This is a really great, chill, relaxed song that Dave Grohl does so well. It's kind of acoustic-y. Could have been on the Foo Fighters In Your Honor acoustic disc. It could have been that kind of vibe. It could have been on that album. But this was on the My Hero single during the Color and the Shape days, and actually was featured on the Scream 2 soundtrack, I believe, in 1997, which is right in line when this song came out. A great B-side. It has a creepy kind of factor to it as well, because obviously it was included in a horror movie, so it kind of has that cinematic kind of vibe to it as well. And it's a great B-side. Didn't make the top 10 list, but made number 1 on my honorable mentions list, and that is Dear Lover. All right, so let's get to my top 10 Foo Fighters B-sides without further ado. In at number 10 is Normal from the Times Like These single. This is a very kind of understated Foo Fighters song. You know, when they have so many of these big hits and these larger-than-life tracks, there's so many big songs that they've released over the years and so many aggressive, kind of ferocious kind of songs. But there's a great melodic element. There always has been to the Foo Fighters music, and there's a lot of great melodic moments happening during that specific period of the band, from There's Nothing Left to Lose in 99 into 2002 and the One by One era. This one, coming from Times Like These, didn't make the whole album. Sounds more like a demo than a finished Foo Fighters song. Could have been from the $1 Million demos, might have been part of those sessions. But it's a really, really great song with a really sweet vocal from Dave Grohl. He does that so well from beginning to end. He still continues to really put such emotion into his vocals and into his lyrics. And although this one isn't one of those Foo Fighters songs that's, praised to the high heavens, it's still great for me. So coming in at number 10 on the top 10 Foo Fighters B-sides, we have Normal. In at number 9 is another cover that the Foo Fighters released as a B-side. This is a cover of a Jerry Rafferty classic called Baker Street, featuring one of the best, I guess, horn lines, guitar lines ever. Yeah, it's such a great little saxophone line on the original, and then I think it's a guitar line on the Foo Fighters version, and it's just great. It's a fantastic cover. I've been to Baker Street in London, in England, and I know kind of the vibe of that place, so I can definitely picture what Jerry Rafferty was kind of was going for on this song. And Dave Grohl has a really kind of interesting mix and choice of covers that he does over the years that the Foo Fighters have done, and this is one of the good ones. They do lots of classic rock B-side covers. They do lots of 80s kind of punk rock stuff and hardcore stuff, and then they do some 90s stuff. They do all the great stuff on their B-side. So in at number 9 is Baker Street from the My Hero single. Number 8 on the Foo Fighters top 10 B-sides is Bangin'. Other than having a great title, this is a great B-side from The Pretender that came out in 2007. And I was saying that the Foo Fighters Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace was kind of the swan song of getting those Foo Fighters B-sides from every album. And this was definitely one of the better ones. This is an original song by the Foo Fighters, so not a cover song. One of the better original songs that they released as a B-side. And I can see how it wouldn't really fit on Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. That album was a mix of In Your Honor, the electric and acoustic sides on that record. So Bangin' has a little more of that punk rock, rough around the edges kind of vibe, but it's got a killer riff on it and a killer vocal from Dave Grohl. So coming in at number 8 is Bangin'. Coming in at number 7 on my top 10 Foo Fighters B-sides is Drive Me Wild. This is a cover of a group from the 80s called Vanity 6, and I believe they might have worked with Prince. I might have to double check on that on Wikipedia, but I believe Vanity 6 was one of the bands that worked with Prince in the 1980s. Let me know if I'm wrong about that in the comments. I could be completely off base on this one. But it's Foo Fighters, like I said, they cover everything. They do classic rock, they do 80s kind of punk rock and hardcore, and then they do pop songs from the 80s as well. This was not a song that I was really familiar with before I did, heard the Foo Fighters do it on their single, which they released on the Everlong single back in 97. And that's actually one of the cool things about being a Foo Fighters fan, is because, you can't know every band that ever existed. And they do some stuff that's more well-known, but they also do some more obscure stuff. So in a way, with these covers, they're really introducing their fans to a lot of music that they themselves were influenced by. And that's the cool thing about listening to these B-sides and these covers by the Foo Fighters. And this is definitely a song that I probably would have never heard of if the Foo Fighters hadn't covered it. But it's a great song. It's got a sexy kind of quality to it, which I wouldn't say a lot of Foo Fighters songs are overly sexy, but this one definitely has a sexy kind of vibe to it. Dave Grohl is doing a lot of great stuff on this song as well. So if you haven't heard it before, it's Drive Me Wild, the Foo Fighters cover of Vanity 6, coming in at number 7 on my top 10 Foo Fighters B-sides. And at number 6 on my top 10 list of Foo Fighters B-Sides, we have Win or Lose, which is from the All My Life single back in 2002, the first single from One by One. And this is actually a song that was recorded in 2 different incarnations. It was actually released for the first time during the There's Nothing Left to Lose era back in 99. It was called Make a Bet, but then the band re-recorded it. Essentially the same song on both versions, but the band re-recorded it as Win or Lose back in 2002. On All My Life, and I think actually this is the version that I prefer. I think Make a Bet, it sounds more like a demo, and then Win or Lose sounds like the full recorded version. There's a lot of great B-sides from the One by One era, and this is one of them from All My Life, and it's a little bit more heavy, a little more in line. It could have been one of the songs that could have been on One by One. Might have been a stronger record if they had it on there, actually. So for my money, that's a great Foo Fighters B-side. So coming in at number 6, we have Win or Lose, or Make a Bet. Coming in at number 5 on the top 10 Foo Fighters B-sides is the Foo Fighters cover of Pink Floyd's classic from the Wish You Were Here album called Have a Cigar. That's featuring the late great Taylor Hawkins on lead vocals. Taylor did some great vocals on a lot of Foo Fighters B-sides. He did Cream, I Feel Free. He did Life of Illusion by Joe Walsh. And then he did this one, which was Have a Cigar by Pink Floyd, which is a great Pink Floyd song. Actually, none of the members of Pink Floyd even sung the original version of Have a Cigar. So it's had multiple vocalists on it over the years. And this is a classic song, with the lyric from Pink Floyd, which one's pink, which is a classic Pink Floyd song. I love Pink Floyd as well. Maybe we should do some more Pink Floyd content on the channel. Maybe you guys would like that, but I love Pink Floyd, and I love the Foo Fighters doing Pink Floyd, and I love Taylor Hawkins' vocals on it. He was such a great vocalist in addition to being such a great drummer, and I'm glad that we have so many great Foo Fighters B-sides, A-sides that feature him on lead vocals, because that's always a huge treat to listen to. So coming in at number 5 is the Foo Fighters cover of Pink Floyd's classic Have a Cigar. In at number 4 on our top 10 list of Foo Fighters B-sides, another cover. I actually didn't realize that until I was counting down this list, that there are so many covers on this list. Is Darling Nikki, the Foo Fighters cover of the Prince classic. This was on the Have It All single. I think it was the last single released from One by One, and I remember actually hearing this song on the radio a couple of times. This was actually somewhat popular and somewhat known in the larger rock community, and people who don't dig into these B-sides as much as us fans do here on the Rock Squad channel. Maybe not as hardcore as we are, but this was one of those songs that kind of crossed over a little bit. And Foo Fighters doing Prince, you really can't lose with that, because again, not a lot of sexy songs in the Foo Fighters canon, but similar to that Vanity 6 cover, Darling Nikki is obviously, it's got some dirty lyrics to it. It's a dirty song, it's a sexy song, and the Foo Fighters kill it by making it super fucking heavy, and they just really, really rip it on this song. Dave Grohl screaming his lungs out, and it sounded great when I heard it on the radio back in the day. It's one of those songs that maybe they should pick up on the radio again, although I don't really know if people would really go for it with the racy lyrics in the song, but I sure do love it. So coming in at number 4 is the Foo Fighters covers of Prince classic Darling Nikki. In at number 3 on my top 10 Foo Fighters B-sides, this technically isn't a B-side, it's a song on a soundtrack, but I still put it into the B-side category, the non-album track category when it comes to the Foo Fighters, and that is the song A320 from the Godzilla soundtrack. An absolutely awful movie. I remember going to see it in the theater back in 1998. It is an awful movie, still is. It's barely watchable, but when it comes to soundtracks, it's got a killer soundtrack. They don't release soundtracks like this anymore for movies. It had the Foo Fighters on it, it had Fuel, it had Ben Folds 5, it had the Wallflowers on it. So many great bands on there that I really, really loved at the time, and so many great tracks on that Godzilla one, including this one, A320, which might be one of the best, just kind of non-album Foo Fighters songs ever. It starts out with kind of almost like a string section before it goes into a chill kind of meandering kind of vibe, and then just really explodes at the end with Dave Grohl singing about his fear of flying. I don't know, this is one of those songs that I don't know if a lot of people in the larger rock community know it as much as hardcore Foo Fighters fans, but as far as unreleased ones go, it's pretty epic and it's pretty awesome. And I know it's on the Godzilla soundtrack, so it doesn't get the praise that it deserves, but that's a great soundtrack for a bad movie, and this is one of the best songs on that soundtrack, so I can't recommend it enough. And at number 3 on our top 10 Foo Fighters B-sides is A320. Coming in at number 2 on my top 10 list of the best Foo Fighters B-Sides is a song called The Sign, which wasn't exactly a B-side. It wasn't on the flip side of a single. It was a bonus track on In Your Honor. And this falls into the could have been, should have been a hit category. I don't understand why this song was not even released on a B-side. It probably would have gotten even more attention and notoriety as a B-side on a single than as a bonus track on like an iTunes version of In Your Honor. I'm not even sure exactly which version of In Your Honor you'd have to buy to find The Sign. I'm not even sure it's on Spotify or streaming. It's probably on YouTube if you want to check it out. But this is, again, it should have been a hit. Like, I wish the song was a radio hit because it's absolutely incredible. One of the most epic, rocking, just, not really in your face, but just, fists in the air kind of songs that really, really get you going. It's got such a great positive vibe to it. It rocks, it kicks ass. The chorus is incredibly catchy. It should have been a hit. I love most of the Foo Fighters hits. The one that I'm not a huge fan of is Best of You, which was the big single from the In Your Honor era, and maybe The Sign could have been even better than Best of You. I'm just putting it out there. I think it's a great song, and I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I'm going to put it in. At number 2 on my top 10 list of Foo Fighters B-Sides, we have The Sign. And coming in at number 1 on my top 10 list of the best Foo Fighters B-Sides is the song Fraternity, which was on the Generator single from the There Is Nothing Left to Lose era of the Foo Fighters, and this is definitely a song that should have been on the album. There's some great covers from that era. There's some great songs like Make It Bet is another song that they released during that era as a B-side, but for my money, Fraternity is just an incredible, incredible Foo Fighters song, one of my favorite Foo Fighters songs in general, even with all the stuff that they released on their albums. I discovered it and listened to it for the first time back when I was in high school when that album came out, and the B-side Fraternity still really is one of my favorite Foo Fighters songs. Again, should have been on There's Nothing Left to Lose. I don't understand. There's Nothing Left to Lose is strong it's my favorite Foo Fighters album, so it's strong from front to back. They don't really need to replace or swap out any songs on that record, but maybe just add an extra one with Fraternity. So that is my definite number 1 Foo Fighters B-side for sure. We're going to put Fraternity in at the top spot. And that is it, guys. That is my list of the top 10 best Foo Fighters B-sides and 5 honorable mentions. I think those are my favorite. I think those are the best Foo Fighters B-sides. But you know what? We're going to have a debate. We're going to talk about it. So make sure to drop into the comments and let me know what your favorite Foo Fighters B-sides are. Let me know which ones you would add from the list, which ones you would take away from the list, and let's have a little discussion. Thank you to everybody for subscribing to the channel over the last little while. If you haven't subscribed to us here on the Rock Squad channel, why don't you do that right now? And while you're at it, give us a like on this video. We'd appreciate that. Share this online with your friends and your fellow rock fans, your fellow Foo Fighters fans. Follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Rock Squad Pod. And if you love Oasis and Foo Fighters and Weezer and Black Crowes and stuff like that, you can check out my band. You can check us out right now at foolsunion.com. But I'll see you guys again for another video here on the Rock Squad channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.